What up guys? In this video, we are covering the LuxAlgo Price Action Concepts version 1.4 to give us a setup as a part of our LuxAlgo setup series episode 3. Okay, so we are taking various components, specifically a part of the LuxAlgo Price Action Concepts indicator, to give us an entire setup to trade with. And here we are on the 5-minute time frame. So let's dive into the settings and explain each different feature that we're going to be using in this video. So we're going into the settings and we are first going to be disabling the swing market structure. The reason for this is that we're going to simplify the market structure that we're going to be analyzing, and the internal is the primary one that people use for their analysis of the market structure on their chart. We're also going to be lowering the setting down to 3 from the default of 5. And the reason for that is to get a lot more reactive and actionable break of structure and change of character labels, as we are going to be looking at the near-term market structure. On this example, we are zoomed in quite a lot. There's only about 150 bars on our screen. However, if you are someone that does typically zoom out and you like to look at the longer term structures on any time frame that you trade, then you could consider, of course, using something higher, like 20 for example, as this will show you a lot more actionable market structure labels, and it's really all up to your preference. But it's a very popular method to be looking at the short-term market structure, very zoomed in, to see all of the highs and lows and the details about each candle. So for that, we're going to be using an even more reactive market structure setting as 3 right here from within the indicator. Okay, so we're going to see these labels a lot more frequent, and they're going to help us confirm the trade setups a lot better than the typical default of 5. So now we are going to go down to the order blocks. We're not going to change the multi-time frame on the market structure for this setup. We're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. Same thing with the order blocks. We're not going to change anything at all right here. You can consider removing the metrics if you like to have a more classical appearance for the order blocks. And if this is a little bit too much for your chart, you can remove the metrics right here. We're going to disable the equal highs and lows since we're not going to be targeting those areas as liquidity. And we're trying to have a very, very simple setup, just using some really important concepts within this indicator. We are actually going to turn on the fair value gaps as a part of the imbalance concepts of the indicator, and we're going to change the time frame to the 15-minute chart. So now we can see on this very setup right here, we have the imbalances displaying here on the 5-minute time frame from the 15-minute time frame. So what we can notice in this specific area is that we have a very large fair value gap formed that is right here from this large impulse down. There's also another one overlapping right here, but that's not too much of an interest to us. We can see that that is more so of an opening gap, and we are going to pay most attention to this midline on the overall fair value gap that has been automatically detected by the indicator. Okay, so right now I've put it on to the very moment that this change of character was confirmed. And with a change of character label, you do not want to treat this as a reversal that is going to immediately occur. Of course, we have the labeling here as change of character plus, which is considering this as a more confirmed reversal signal. And the methodology there is that we've already formed a higher low right here as a part of the market structure, and now we have broken the most recent highs as a part of this impulse down. We have broken the structure here. And the right way to use change of character labels as a part of the LuxAlgo Price Action Concepts indicator is to now look for a setup to find an entry. It does not generally have to be a perfect setup like a wick right down into this order block and then target a move up all the way up into this large order block up here. It can just be on the shorter term price action after the change of character, an entry into another order block that appears, or maybe another fair value gap. we can see what happens after this change of character appears. So if we're gonna go and watch this example, we can see how we can find a potential entry, and we're gonna cover that as a target to the midline of this order block right here. So this is where we're going to target, considering the majority of this impulse and the midline as a logical area to find some resistance and potentially a move back down. So we had a little touch of that fair value gap, but we are trying to find something more significant. We have this break of structure label, which is telling us that this trend is becoming a bit more confirmed. We are seeing good signs that this price action right here is headed into a solid uptrend. Now, if we watch further, we can see that these are all 15-minute fair value gaps displaying on our chart. So for anybody looking at these and saying that, oh, those aren't fair value gaps, you can know that these are generated specifically from the 15-minute time frame, and we're currently on the 5-minute chart right now, and we're doing that as a methodology to finding more significant fair value gaps to use as entries. So right here, this is a good indication in real time to consider as a potential entry. We had a move down into a fair value gap. There was a small impulse right here, which on the 15-minute time frame has generated that FVG. And right here could be a logical setup with a stop loss below the recent swing low, potentially right here on the very short-term price action, and we could target a move up into that FVG on the midline. There's also potential entries you could consider, like we could look for a move down into this order block, although it does have very insignificant volume. We can see we might consider a move into this order block as another potential entry, and we can see that occur right here as we got the entry into the order block. That's another potential entry to consider. Although the trend has already been going up quite a bit, we've already moved into that fair value gap. We could consider this as our sort of last potential entry before we might want to consider that this trend is getting a bit exhausted. So right after that move into the order block, we did see the impulse right into that midline that we were looking at originally from right here. This is where we identified the potential target. We got these two potential entries right here, and we reached the target right here. So that is the move. Of course, as you identify these points of interest when using the LuxAlgo Price Action Concepts indicator, like we found this midline was a great target for a trade setup, we could consider this as an entry and now look for it to retrace into another logical point of interest. And that, I would say, would be this 27% order block right here, right? This was a potential entry as we were about 10 candles back, but now we can see that there is a lot of significant volume during that last impulse that led us up here. And maybe we could look to target this order block as another area of liquidity, right? So let's see how this plays out as well. We got the move right down into this order block too. So that was just one example. Let's dive right into the next one so we can see how we can use the same setup for trading price action on various different time frames and assets. All right, so here is another example where we have a confirmed change of character plus, and we have some targets to the upside that we are considering based on this large impulse move that we have seen play out to the downside. So of course we can see this fair value gap right here, and this is more so an obvious one as it's just a shorter term, smaller impulse that we can see. This is more so an obvious one that is likely to fill, but the ones that we're more interested in here are this order block right here in the middle of the impulse that's at 12%. So we're gonna mark a level right there, as well as this fair value gap that occurred right at the bearish change of character that was at the beginning of the impulse itself. So we're gonna mark that as well at the midline. So now, as we know, for this strategy, we have the change of character plus, and we're now going to look for an entry. So we're being patient and we're waiting for an obvious entry that is either at a fair value gap like this on the bullish side, or we could consider an entry at the actual order block that is now just formed at this level as well. So there's been two potential setups right here for our entry. And now what we can look for is a break of structure to confirm that we are likely to go and visit the upside, as well as monitor the trade as we are approaching this significant order block here to hopefully reach the higher levels of liquidity that we've marked out above. So we can see that we got our break of structure, and then we immediately got this move right up into the fair value gap that also mitigated the order block that we originally spotted out as we had this change of character right here. And as we went over last time, this itself could be a potential trade setup. So we could also look for another change of character to form to consider a potential trade to the downside. So we have one right here. We're gonna look for an obvious entry that is at a retest of a fair value gap that is on the bearish side. So right here, we're noticing some, but they're not too significant. There's not really an obvious retest occurring. Right here, we are getting one and we have had a break of structure. So we could consider this as a place to enter a short. Although considering that the market has come down quite a bit, we can be a bit conservative with how we take this particular trade. Of course, this is all up to your discretionary analysis, but now we can see after that first break of structure and how we reacted on that 15-minute fair value gap right there. We can see a move that came down into this order block right here at only 8%. And we are now noticing the price is kind of interacting with this fair value gap area and now coming into the longer term order block that was previously a significant reaction at various different levels. So here we would definitely want to exit the trade if we took any of the opportunities that occurred during this downside move as well. So that's pretty much the way to use this setup with the change of character, wait to enter on an order block or a fair value gap, and targeting points of interest above using the same features. Okay, so this was all generated solely based on the LuxAlgo Price Action Concepts indicator, which is an entire toolkit for trading price action that we cover way more in depth in our documentation, as well as the full overview video that we're gonna link down below in the description. And if you wanna get access to these indicators that are a part of the LuxAlgo Premium Indicator Suite, which is the LuxAlgo Price Action Concepts, the LuxAlgo Oscillator Matrix, and the LuxAlgo Signals and Overlays indicators, make sure to check out the links in the description. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you all in the next video.